The Cleveland Browns say nothing has been decided at quarterback. NFL insiders are saying the opposite. And buried inside front office quotes and media leaks is a message Browns fans weren't supposed to hear. Shedeur Sanders may already be getting replaced. One of the clearest articulations of the Browns' dilemma didn't come from a press conference. It came from Garrett Bush, longtime Cleveland media personality and a voice deeply connected to the fan base. Bush didn't argue that Shedeur Sanders is a finished product. He didn't pretend the rookie season was flawless. Instead, he pointed out something far more uncomfortable. The Browns just ran this same experiment, veteran stopgaps, reclamation projects, developmental quarterbacks stacked on top of one another. And every time it failed, the organization blamed the quarterback, not the environment.
I just think the Browns need to learn from their mistakes. We kind of did this less than a year ago. We brought in Flacco, the veteran. We wanted a reclamation project in Kenny Pickett. We drafted a young guy who we thought was a developmental project in Shedeur Sanders. And then we drafted another guy who we thought could be a higher ceiling backup type guy in Dylan Gabriel. That turned out disastrous. I want to bring the new coordinator in, and my thought process is if I got confidence in who I'm hiring as a coordinator and I believe in those guys, I also have to believe that they are going to get the best versions out of those guys that I have in my. If Shedeur Sanders played in 2026, they put everything around him, gave him pieces and parts, and it didn't work out. There is no excuse for nobody, whether you support him or not, to say, I see why the Browns got to go in 27 to get a quarterback.
Bush's argument wasn't emotional. It was structural. If Cleveland believes in its next offensive coordinator, then logically, it must also believe that coordinator can develop the quarterbacks already in the room. Otherwise, what exactly is the plan? One of the most consistent criticisms of Shedeur Sanders centers on late-season regression. But context matters, and Bush emphasized it. By the time Sanders hit turbulence, the offensive line was cycling through combinations at a staggering rate. Veterans were injured. Continuity disappeared. Protection broke down. Quarterbacks don't develop in a vacuum. They develop inside systems, and systems require stability. What Bush highlighted is something Cleveland has struggled to accept for years. Development requires patience, not panic. When Browns general manager Andrew Berry finally addressed the quarterback situation publicly, his words were careful, almost clinical. He praised Shedeur Sanders' growth. He acknowledged improvement in pocket management, situational awareness, and accuracy.
I think we saw a lot of progress with Shedeur this year. I think that's both mentally, physically, playing the position. He's still very much a work in progress, like many rookie quarterbacks are. But I think we saw some really good things in terms of his playmaking, his accuracy, his ability to extend with his feet. And I think I'd also give him credit as well as our offensive staff. Now that all being said, we're going to do our work on the quarterback market. It's too important of a position, and it's something that has to be solidified. I can't sit here and tell you today, whether the solution or the starter in 2026 is internal or external.
Berry made it clear the Browns would still do their work on the quarterback market. He refused to name an internal starter for 2026. He emphasized that the incoming head coach would have significant input. In NFL language, that isn't endorsement. That's optionality. And optionality is exactly what fuels speculation. Once front offices stop committing publicly, media fills the vacuum. That's where Jeremy Fowler, Tony Grossi, and Mike Rizzo enter the picture. Jeremy Fowler's reporting connected the Browns to Malik Willis, framing Cleveland as a potential landing spot for a quarterback looking for a second act. Tony Grossi quickly shifted the conversation toward logistics, not talent. His point was simple. Signing Willis wouldn't be cheap. The Browns already carry massive financial obligations at quarterback. Adding another mid-tier contract could further restrict roster construction.
Tony, Jeremy Fowler linked the Browns to Malik Willis. Do you think that's possible or impossible?
Here's why I don't think it's likely at all. They still have this huge cap problem with Watson. Malik Willis is going to be a free agent, and people are saying, what's his market? Well, the Justin Fields contract with the Jets, which I think was $40 million over 2 years with $30 million guaranteed or something like that. So this isn't like Kenny Pickett on a rookie salary. You're talking about investing another $40 million in another quarterback. I don't see that happening.
Rizzo echoed similar concerns, emphasizing that quarterback solutions can't be separated from cap reality. This wasn't hype, it was math. When Bleacher Report's Mike Chiari published commentary suggesting Malik Willis could be viewed as a replacement-level option, the conversation escalated. Not because the claim was definitive, but because of what it implied, that Shedeur Sanders might not be viewed as the long-term answer, that the Browns could be preparing a contingency plan, that development might once again take a backseat to short-term insurance, and once that idea entered the mainstream, it stuck. One of the most misleading narratives to emerge is the idea that Sanders was given the keys and failed. That isn't what happened. He didn't begin the season as the preferred option. He didn't leapfrog the depth chart naturally. He entered because circumstances forced the issue. Only after performing and winning did he earn continued starts. Ignoring that sequence isn't analysis, it's revision. And Cleveland fans have seen this movie before. The conversation around Malik Willis has grown louder, but focusing only on his name misses the larger issue. Willis is not being discussed because he represents certainty. He's being discussed because he represents hesitation. When teams truly believe in a quarterback, they eliminate ambiguity. They don't leak alternatives into the media cycle. They don't float contingency plans before development has even stabilized. They commit or they move on decisively. Cleveland is doing neither. Willis's resurgence in Green Bay didn't happen by accident. He entered a system with structure, defined reads, and coaching continuity. The same player who struggled under instability suddenly looked competent when variables were controlled. That contrast matters, because it forces a difficult question the Browns rarely ask themselves. Is the quarterback failing, or is the environment failing the quarterback? If Malik Willis succeeds elsewhere, but is framed as a potential fix in Cleveland, then the Browns aren't solving a problem, they're recycling it, and history suggests that outcome rarely changes. When Shedeur Sanders addressed questions about whether he had done enough to earn the starting role, his response was measured, not confrontational. He acknowledged growth, he acknowledged responsibility, and he acknowledged that decisions ultimately sit above his head. That's not defiance, that's an understanding of how the league works.
I think I did what I was able to do, and I definitely grew from a lot of things, and I got experience now, so I'm always the same, like confidence-wise. I'm there, but like that's not in my hands. Like that's not my decisions. I can't speak on what other people feel.
Yet confidence itself has become part of the controversy. In Cleveland, belief is often mistaken for entitlement, but quarterbacks without belief don't survive long enough to develop, especially in unstable environments. Sanders never demanded the job. He never blamed teammates. He never reframed setbacks as excuses. What he did was maintain self-belief while accepting uncertainty, a balance many veterans struggle to find. This offseason feels heavier for Cleveland than most, not because of one mistake, but because every unresolved issue is converging at once. A quarterback position that never stabilized, an offensive line aging faster than expected, a cap sheet still haunted by a contract that restricts flexibility, and a rookie quarterback whose opportunity arrived under circumstances no one planned. This offseason will not be remembered for who the Browns sign or draft. It will be remembered for what they choose to prioritize. They can build an ecosystem designed to support development, protection, continuity, coaching alignment, and allow Shedeur Sanders a legitimate runway. Or they can chase another perceived solution, layering contracts and competition onto an already crowded quarterback room, hoping one sticks before the consequences arrive. The NFL media didn't create this tension, it surfaced it. Because every report, every leaked name, every non-committal quote points back to the same unresolved issue. Cleveland still hasn't decided what it wants to be at quarterback. Until it does, no name, not Sanders, not Willis, not anyone else, will truly matter. And for a franchise that has spent decades searching for stability, that might be the most dangerous reality of all.